Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here. Today I have a special NU upload. I got selected to play in the Neverused Battle of the Week against Oath, and we decided to play a best of 5 with 3 SS games, an SM game, and an ORAS game. So this is going to be my entire best of 5 series, and for those of you that are interested in NU, I'm also going to be going really in depth on my team choices and my gameplay as well as his gameplay. I just really want to get it all out there. I think it's going to be fun and nice change of pace for the channel. I don't oftentimes shed as much insight and really give as much perspective on my NU games as I do say my OU games, be it on the ladder or in tournaments. So I figured now would be a good time as ever, especially with the meta game having changed for the better recently and there being more suspects happening and the tier just being more accessible to the general public, which I feel is a huge step in the right direction. I also want to note that Oath is a good friend of mine, a good contributor. I was really excited to play him. Admittedly, I wasn't super motivated to play SM and ORAS as they're older generations. I was more excited to play SS, and that may reflect in the results, truth be told, but we'll have to wait and see how it goes. Game 1 we have here. I actually used a really interesting team here. It was by no means conventional. You see Pokemon like Celebi, which has definitely fallen off quite a bit in recent times, especially since the Beware ban. Dragology is used a decent amount for sure, although I've been seeing other poison types and offensive pivots being used a bit more recently. But I'm using it with heavy duty boots, and I think that's kind of a trend that you're going to notice in this team in that I have heavy duty boots on both. I think I went Celebi with heavy duty boots over Culberberry, but also Dragology with heavy duty boots because the team is very weak to spikes, and I wasn't able to fit Az removal in this team. And that's really my one thing about this team that I wish I could kind of take back, in that I'm super weak to spikes. But thankfully I didn't run into spikes in this game, but I did have 2 boots users and immune Pokemon and my Diancie and Caperja and of course my Indeedee, which is Specs, which we'll get to in a minute, were all able to threaten spikers. So I know I had a chance to beat teams with spikes, but that was something I was paranoid about. So it was good that I didn't run into it here. But yeah, so it was Boots, Nasty Plot, Celebi, and it was interesting because Nasty Plot Celebi actually is pretty uncommon in the metagame. It kind of wishes it had like 5 or 6 move slots, coupled with the fact that it's not naturally strong enough to do much damage. I've even checked it with Nasty Plot plus Leaf Storm, but there are too many grass resists in the tier. And honestly, even at +2 with something like Aura Sphere or Earth Power, you're not able to kill things like Caperja if it's EV'd well enough, and it can get sticky, it can get icky, needless to say. But this team was actually based off of a really interesting concept. See, I look at Oath's team and really every single player, and you notice Caperja is on 9 out of 10 teams right now. Okay, maybe not 9, maybe like 5 or 6 out of 10, but it feels like 9 out of 10 teams, and this is for good reason. It is able to compress a lot of different things. It's able to soft check or sell you with the right stats. It's able to take advantage of things like Sylveon, which is a great Witch Passer. It's able to get rocks up while beating most defoggers besides Talonflame, and even then you can run rocks up for that. It has great coverage and offensive presence, and there are a whole slew of utility moves, be it Curse or Whirlwind, or, I like Protect Leftovers even, in different coverage moves, Heat Crash, Earthquake, Power Whip, of course alongside Heavy Slam. All in all, it makes it so that Copper is one of the best Pokemon. And I kind of figured it was a given that he'd either have it or a different steel type like Bronzong on his team. I didn't think I'd see something like Silvally Steel or another more fringe steel type. I haven't really seen that whatsoever recently. I don't know if Silvally Steel is... I think it's like PU or PU... I don't know, but it's definitely not something I was expecting, so I actually figured I'd go for some trickery here, and you'll notice that among every single team I decided to use this whole video, if you're in this for the long haul, I used a lot of more conceptual things, more unconventional things than I normally do. I'm actually a pretty reserved and standardized player recently, overall, honestly, philosophically, because I feel that my playing should take the forefront. I don't want to put myself in disadvantageous positions, taking the risk-reward in the team builder rather than a battle. But in this series, since it was Battle of the Week, it wasn't like any high-stakes tournament, I kind of went the other way in that I knew I could play well, for sure, but I also felt that I want to get some fun things in the team builder, so I used a Trick plus Choice Scarf for Cresselia as a lure to things like Copper and Bronzong. The idea being is that if you cut off their lifeline and recovery in terms of leftovers, and you make it so they're locked into one move, all of a sudden things like Nasty Plot Celebi, things like Indeedee, which was Specs with Expanding Force, which hits like an absolute truck, and even things like Dragology or Diancie can suddenly become quite threatening. And I felt that I was able to really take advantage as well in this matchup, as right off the bat you'll see Copperja is pretty easy to lure in for Cresselia, and Trick is automatic. Even if I end up tricking the Mantine or Diancie, that can also open things up. Now, I faced an actual team that I didn't want to face here, though, meaning that I think this probably was the least ideal matchup for the triple psychic archetype. The idea being that, again, I trick the Copper, the Bronzong with Cresselia, and then Specs and Deity plus Nasty Plot Celebi and even Dragalge kind of go in, but he actually had a lot of things that were double checked. Now, Deity in this matchup is pretty horrible. It felt like it was a net negative in the matchup at Team Preview. He had immunities to both of my stabs, meaning that Hyper Voice did nothing into the Decidueye, Expanding Force did nothing into the Guzzlord, and unfortunately I wasn't Dazzling Gleam on that set. I was Mystical Fire for Escavalier, which also could have been a dire matchup, so that was pretty rough. So, despite being able to trick Hopperja, it was still a 50-50 every single time I got the Indeedee in, and if he goes to the Guzzlord, I don't even always 2KO that with like Protect Leftovers, or if it's a rare, very rare Selfless set, or if he goes Diance's midgun, you know. And even Mandine can Roost Scout him off, so it doesn't really get the one-shots that I wanted to get, and both stabs have the immunities, and it's easy to play around. So I need to get Indeedee in 4 to 5 times and start getting kills each time, and get a couple of those right, is what I'm trying to say. So, right off the bat, I knew that my typical method of making progress was arguably a bit compromised. Despite my strategy of Trick Cresselia likely working, he had extra layers, and that definitely should be credited in Oath's side. That means that he was really prepared, maybe for what I had, I don't know. I don't really think he did any scouting. I didn't really look at his team, but I think that it was more, he just built a very solid team in the metagame, and he used it. Definitely massive props to him for that. But, there's always a but. I did think I was able to break through. On the Celebi, I had Aura Sphere and Shadow Ball. Aura Sphere lets me hit Guzzlord, lets me hit Copper. Shadow Ball lets me hit Decidueye for stronger than Psychic if need be, although plus the Psychic does plenty to it. And on top of that, Psychic did really well. Plus 2 Psychic has a good chance to 2-killing Mantine, standard spread at plus 2. And obviously Psychic or Aura Sphere is going to do a ton to heal this, which can't kill me in return. So yeah, and I don't think the Antsy could really break a Celebi either. Yeah, I didn't have any bulk, but I still had enough offensive presence to really do that. So yeah, I felt like Celebi actually might take a bit more of the forefront rather than Indeedee. So I knew right off the bat I was going to have my work cut out for me, as Guzzlord, if it was a physical variant with Earthquake or Heavy Slam, was going to absolutely decimate me. Like, I didn't have any really way of countering or checking Guzzlord. My main thing I was scared about in this team was Guzzlord and Drapion, but I felt Drapion matchup was fine because he doesn't really come in safely on anything besides Celebi. And also, if I could get a two-wave on it with Cresselia, that suddenly makes it a lot less threatening. Coupled with the fact that I've got a max physical defense Diancie. So, yeah, it was really Guzzlord. Well, Guzzlord, coupled with the fact that he had a Pokemon that was immune to Hyper Voice, coupled with the fact that that Pokemon wasn't the Trick Absorber, Copperja is, made it pretty hard. So, I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay. So, from a pure game planning perspective, there are a couple things I need to do. I need to control the field. I can't let him get rocks up without me having rocks up, unless that rocks that he has comes at the parade of his Copper losing its leftovers to a trick, or him having to let it lose a lot of its health. So I felt like I had to put myself in a position where I was always in an aggressive spot against Copper. This means maybe I stand with Diancie against Copper and go for the body press for the 2KO, risking him going for Heavy Slam. Or I go for the focus blast with Dragalge, risking an Earthquake or Heavy Slam to the face as well. This is fine because I know that if I make progress, then I'm getting to a point where Celebi or Indeedee could go off. So these sort of methodical plays, I know that the burden of outplaying is on my head here rather than the opponent's head, if you will. But anyway, we're now 9 minutes into the video. I've explained a lot of what I thought about a team preview. I think I've went into enough depth. I think we can get into the game here now as well. So right at the bat, he leads Copper, and I lead Crest, which again is playing into my hand. And as you see here, I go for the trick. And he actually goes for Curse. This means something that's really big to me. This means that he Stealth Rocked Diancie. I thought a couple things. Diancie could be, I figured that since it was Battle of the Week, maybe it could be like running some fun sets. I thought it could be like a Banded Guzzlord or a Specs Diancie, even a throwback to last generation when it was in the tier. Or it could maybe be some set built around like Trick Room with Guzzlord and Copper, and maybe a slower Decidueye with Healers being the Revenge Killer. Although I really wasn't sure what to make of this team, as it was quite slow. I thought it was a bit too slow. So I figured maybe it'd be a Scarf Healerless or even a surprise Scarf Decidueye, which would make sense. So I wasn't really ready to commit to anything. But Trick Room idea surfaced. I wasn't sure. It could have been Assault Vest Copper, but I thought that was a bit less likely given how especially bulky Mantine was. So I figured Curse was an option, Assault Vest was an option, Rocks was an option. It turned out he was Curse. I didn't think he was banned. I really don't see that very often, and even then, Cresselia lives safe from bans. So I felt very comfortable just staying in there and going for the trick, but tricking on the curse is even better than tricking on the rocks. I can pressure Diancie with every single Pokemon on my team besides the Cresselia. My own Diancie also gets rocks up against him, so yeah, it goes without saying now that I felt like I was in the driver's seat. I felt like there was an amazing turn 1, as he's forced to switch out here. And looking at the matchup, it was pretty predictable that he'd go to Decidueye Guzzlord, in my opinion. So I went to the Diancie predicting the Guzzlord, knowing that I could then double switch right back out to Cresselia to scout out his set, see if it was maybe Banded Heavy Slam or if it was Mix Set or whatever, and I could get a Thunder Wave off on that and bluff Moonblast and kind of scare that out. I didn't have Moonblast, but bluffing it's important. And Cresselia's health in this matchup is kind of expandable. But either way, he actually went to Decidueye, and I got owned on that turn. So he, I'm still thinking that maybe he's Scarf. He's a pretty slow team, but I know Dragology can live any one hit. I figured he probably would go for a Grass Hoof if you were to attack as well, or we'll really see. But he goes towards Diancie, and I'm like, okay. I died a +2 Poltergeist always, and Dragology actually looks really good after the trick onto Copper. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a really aggressive play and go in DD, knowing he's not going to Leaf Blade into me here, as he risks getting absolutely nuked. I figured he'd just go Poltergeist or Spirit Shackle. Yeah, that's what I mean. He had that, and it's fine. So I go in DD, and that's great. I can threaten to one-shot him, and I just keep myself honest here. Go for the Expanding Force. I also get to see the damage on Copper. It does 36. Good damage here. Now I go to my own Copper as he goes back to Guzzlord, and that's a problem for me. In hindsight, I should have probably went to a double that did a bit better against Guzzlord. I should have probably went through my Dragology, as I'm pretty quick. But I digress. You get the better in me there. I just go Crest again. Crest pretty expandable. And from that damage, I can see that he's knockoff Adamant, but he's not choice banded, so it's fine. I figure I'm scouring out with Moonblast there, so I go back to Diancie. But again, he goes to Decidueye here. This time around, I was kind of predicting him to go to his own Diancie to try and get rocks up, but hey, good play on his end there. I go back to Indeedee here, thinking he's going to Swords Dance to go for Spirit Shackle, predicting a mid-ground play, and I get the Swords Dance play correctly. Now he goes Copperja, and this time around, again, I feel like I'm in a bit more of a comfortable position, as I know he's going to switch out since he switched out last time. So I went for the Hyper Voice, predicting him to go Guzzlord. But he's still scared of Dazzling Gleam, and he knows Hyper Voice is a possibility, and he knows his Copperja is a curse set that's locked in the Scarf, so he does the right thing here and just goes to it, seeing what I'll lock into. I go Hyper Voice to 24. Now I go my own Copper, and he goes Diancie, so finally I get that right. That's cool. He goes Guzzlord, and I go back to Diancie here, and man, I wish I just clicked Curse and then just started trading damage with this. I think that was the better play. But back of my head, I was paranoid about him being a potential body press variant or something like ballsy like that, and just doing a ton of damage to me. And I felt Heavy Slam in the Guzzlord would have been kind of useless. So I didn't want to attack with an DNG, so I went my own as a mid-ground, and it didn't work out because Guzzlord's likely quicker and has Heavy Slam. And I don't want to risk that because I die. So I go back to my Copperja. Heavy Slam does only 7, which is cool. He goes Knockoff and it does 48, but I go Curse, and I'm like, okay, I need to trade damage on this. The Guzzlord really is problematic. His Heat Crash only does 18. My Heavy Slam is doing 25. And that's great damage because all of a sudden he's in Hyper Voice to a kill range now for sure. I go Heavy Slam to the Mantine again, and this is chill with me because I have Power Whip in the back, and he's going to do a ton, and that means he can't reduce. So now I'm forcing this basically into Celebi range at +2 or in Indeedee range, and that's all I want. Getting a little chip on Guzzlord, forcing him to Mantine, getting chip on that's huge. I just got to avoid a burn if he goes for Scald here, and unfortunately he gets the burn on the first try. So I'm like, okay, not great. I can potentially save this for Lunar Dance back up to it, but it looks more like fodder at this point. If I miss Whip, now here I go my Indeedee at this point, and I know I'm pretty behind, so I've got to start making all of the right plays. Now here, he goes Copper, and he lives the Expanding Force again, 37 there, and I'm looking at myself, I'm like, okay, I know it's 6-6, but I have one Pokemon weakened and crippled, but I exhausted a lot of resources for that. In the meantime, my Copper is basically dead, my Crest is really weakened, and I've revealed every single set besides Celebi and Dragology. Meanwhile, he only has the Guzzlord taking little damage and the Copper, everything else at full pretty much, so I just feel like I'm behind seeing how healthy the Guzzlord still is. I don't like that. And I've locked into a move that enables the Guzzlord coming in. So I go Crest here, and he actually goes Guzzlord. That's cool with me. I feel like I'm still going to scare him out here. He goes Decidueye, and I think I get a Thunder Wave off. Yep, that works well. Now I go Dragology here. So he goes DNC. I didn't really understand that, truth be told, but I'll take it. Flip turn here. Bring in my own, because again, as I said before, if he's going rocks, I got to get my rocks up. But he actually goes Heal Bell. So that's fine with me. The paralysis turn actually worked out because it made it so that I get the rocks on the same turn as him. It totally works for me. And now here he goes Diamond Storm, and I went for Moonblast here. I was trying to feel him out. I should have went Diamond Storm in my own hindsight, but I figured I'd be slower because I'm like 0 speed. And yeah, that's kind of confirmed there. So he gets a +2 body press off. I get a little more off with the Moonblast, and I'm like, okay, I gotta do some swapping around. I go Crest here. I figure, okay, it's cool. I'll eat. And at this point, I guess Lunar Dance into the Copper would have made some sense, but I wanted to trick it to let him lose his leftovers. Body Press +2 is too threatening, and I didn't have a Grass Move on Celebi, but I could have bluffed Grass Move, and that's what I ended up doing anyway. I think that Lunar Dancing in the Copper draw, and then baiting the Body Press and going to Celebi was a better play there. So maybe a slight misplay on my end on that turn. It's really the only play that I didn't like on my side that game, but ultimately it's fine. I don't think it cost me a ton of ground, so we'll take it there. Anyway, yeah, I get Celebi and I bluff like Leaf Storm or Giga Drain. He goes Copper, and I'm like, okay, he's probably going to fight enough to see my set. I Nasty Plot there, and that's dope because now I feel like I'm in a good spot. He goes Man Time, but again, Psychic is a good roll to a KO. He Toxics, and that's fine. I did 51. And I get the roll, and that's out of the way there. So now I'm in a 5-4 position. He goes Guzzlord. He scouts for Gleam or Aura Sphere. I'm Aura Sphere. He goes to Sidgeway. Great play on his end. That's fine by me. Now he goes Guzzlord on the Shadow Ball, and it only does 20. And I'm like, okay, this is not good. But I forced 2 rocks plus 20% Shadow Ball on the Guzzlord. It's not half health. It can't live in a Hyper Voice from Specs and DD anymore. And it's going to die to even a Sludge Bomb after Stealth Rock from Dragology now. And that's amazing. So that's fine. I think that Celebi's done its job there between getting a kill here, forcing this to come in fodder, and getting chip there, and even forcing rocks into Sidgeway, I believe. So yeah, that's amazing. But at this point, I just go Copper, figure it's fodder. I want to see what he goes. So he goes out to DNC. That's fine with me. And now, here's the 50-50 thing I was talking about before, the thing I kind of have to get right. My only way to kill this is my Indeedee. I already revealed right now that this has no Grass Move. Revealed on my coverage. I know I'm slower than him, and I don't want to go in that 1v1 when I'm a bit lower and slower. And Dragology, going to it, I guess could have been okay, but taking a lot of chip on that wasn't good for the Heelless matchup, because with Celebi Weekend and Crestcon, Heelless kind of destroys me. I don't have an Electric Minion in this team, and Heelless is one of the few matchups that makes that problematic, because I'm obviously very good against Rotom Mo with these 2 Pokemon, but yeah, no, that's not good here. So I'm like, okay, I need to go in DD on the DNC, and I need to get the play right. If I Hyper Voice into the DNC, I'm fucked. If I Expanding Force into the Guzzlord, I'm probably fucked. If I Expanding Force into the DNC, then yes, he can go Guzzlord after, but I still get a kill. It's fine. If I Hyper Voice into the Guzzlord, yes, he could go to Sidgeway after, but that's very fine. I feel like I'm good. Now, I'm thinking more and more into it. I'm like, there's no way in hell he's going to let the Guzzlord die here. It's just too valuable. And if it's quicker in Dragology, it kind of just wins. So I'm just going to go for my damn Expanding Force because, yeah, he didn't risk one of the Pokemon that was immune to the stabs, exactly. And now he goes Guzzlord here, if I get that right. It's kind of a weighted 50-50. DNC is going to eat a knockoff, of course, but it should, emphasis on should, die to a Follow-Up Heavy Slam, and that it does. It's going to give him a kill and the attack boost, unsurprisingly. But now here, I can go back and play Indeedee here. And now this is a crazy turn because it's literally a 50-50, or so you think. I'm going to explain how it isn't right now. See, Aura Sphere for my Celebi, which I think I was modest in this game, I don't remember. But either way, it had a chance of killing from a certain range of health. I think roughly this. And then I maybe could have won against the Heelisk. If it was Scarf Heelisk plus then living the Spirit Shackle, it would have been rolls. But if I get 50-50 wrong, the Guzzlord's still alive. That's not possible. But if I get the 50-50 wrong and he goes to the Decidueye, then I just outright lose. It gets a kill. Like, period. He could just click Spirit Shackle a couple times, and it is 15 PP, and I don't have enough PP on any of these. I'd be using one of them, so all of a sudden I'd have one less set. You see what I mean? Yeah, okay. So, basically, what I noticed was, if I trick the Guzzlord here, it loses leftovers, and Specs Guzzlord isn't going to be quicker than either of these, than my Celebi and all like that. So Aura Sphere's got a chance to kill. So it's not a great chance, but it's a chance. That's the point. Meanwhile, the Sigilai, if he goes to Sigilai, then this opens up the door for a couple of things. First off, I can still outrun it. I can be immune to the potential Sucker Punch / Shadow Sneak if Psychic Drains up, and then I can Expanding Force its ass and kill it. And then also after that, if he goes back to Guzzlord, I can still kill it with Hyper Voice after the Stealth Rock, which is amazing for me. That means that Indeedee would kind of just win the game. You could get a Volt Switch into Hyper Voice to a KO with the Heal Disc, but I would be fine, would be the point. So instead of picking one end of the 50-50 and going for it, I actually made a move that won me the game even more if you went to Sigilai. It made it go from like favorable to 100% won. But if he stayed in with Guzzlord, which I didn't think he was going to do, I kind of read him going to Sigilai here, then I still had odds, okay odds, possible odds anyway to win. I can't remember the roll. I don't know his full sped to win anyway. And lo and behold, the trickery worked. And I don't think he ever predicted this. I think he always just predicted between attacks. But now I have Life Orb. Obviously, Spending Force kills this. And he's forced into Heal Disc, which can't even Revenge Heal me. Unless it's Specs. And again, I think he's Scarf. But either way, I can just go ahead and go my Celebi. Fodder. And to add insult to injury, he's Hyper Beam. Now here, some weird things happened. He said in the chat, it's supposed to be Hyper Voice. And then I said, and I quote, I won either way though. Now, I don't consider that to be rude, because, well, Draco Meteor kills the Heal Disc here 100% of the time. So long as Draco Meteor hits, I win the game. Because, looking here, this at 36-37% after Stealth Rock is always dying to Hyper Voice. Coupled with the fact that there's a good chance that it's slower than Dragalge, which we see later. So I say I won either way, and he seems to think that's rude. After the series, he apologized for that. He realized that he had lost anyway, and I mean, in my opinion, it was a little weird. But you got to realize here, and this is me giving all the credit to World Oath. We're in the middle of a tense series, a tight game where we both had the upper hand at different points, and he's been playing a hell of a game, me too. So I'm just gonna say, hey man, I get it. We're on the heat of the moment. All of the respect to you as a competitor. I'm sorry you had the wrong move. I do believe I won anyway, because if you clicked Hyper Voice there, even a credit clit Hyper Voice wasn't killing Dragalge. So his only win condition was me missing a Draco Meteor, plus him being Specs on a team where I really think he's Scarf. I don't know for sure, but nothing quicker than that. I don't know, but regardless, him being Specs plus me missing Draco. So if I got hacks, I could have lost, but otherwise I won. And lo and behold, as you see here, regardless, I hit the Draco, which took him out, of course. So it was moot. And then also, my Dragalge was quicker than the Guzzlord. So yeah, there was no way the game was being changed from there. So yeah, good game. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We have 4 more. I realize now that this took 23 minutes, so I'm going to say I'm not going to put as much emphasis in the old generation games, the 7 and 6. I'm going to go over them because they're good games that we played and I enjoyed, but I can't give them the same attention to detail as the SS games because I don't want this to be an hour-long video, coupled with the fact that SS is what we're here for, they're moneymakers, but I will say game 2 and 3 are the old generation games. If you're going to skip ahead to the SS games, you can, but I personally advise that you watch these because there's a lot of fun. So, again, I wanted to keep along the strategy of using unorthodox instead of my standard stuff, so I loaded up a variant of the old Sun team that I used and built alongside people like Staga in the Smogon Snake Drafts a couple years ago. It's a cool team. It's got choice specs Typhlosion, Life Orb, Victorville, Z-Move, Executor, Regirock, Liepard, and Xatu. He's got a bit of a balanced team, I guess you could call it bulky offense. I don't know. I mean, looking at the bat here, there are 2 ways this team could be used. It's always going to be a choice band. Aerodactyl or Z doesn't make much sense at all. You really want the Pursuit on this team, especially with Steelix, because that means you could Pursuit Trap Xatu, and then you get Stealth Rock and potentially Spike with Garbodor up. So right off the bat, I'm like, okay, so it has to be Z on either the Garbodor or the Scrafty. It's a choice band Pursuit Aerodactyl. It's probably a Trick Specs variant of Whimsicott, but it could be a pivot. It could be some weird set. I'm not too sure. I guess in theory it could be Z, but I don't like the odds of that. either way, I feel as if the Zatu here on his team is probably going to be Psychic, because his matchup with opposing Garbodor isn't great. He has a lot of Pokemon vulnerable to spikes, so therefore Psychic, U-turn, Roost, and either Grass Knot or Thunder Wave or Nightshade. So that means that he can't really like Toxic or Threaten or like neutralize my Regirock and Liepard. So I know that using them as the primary sunsetters is important, and playing my Zatu a bit more liberally as an anti-hazard Pokemon is important. So switching it repeatedly into things like Garbodor or Steelix can go a long way for me. Whereas, using it to click Sunny Day is less needed. So maybe clicking Roost with it more and using Sunny Day, because I have two other Sunny Day setters, Liepard and Regirock. So that would be important. Now, I think Specs Typhlosion does really well here, but he also has a Choice Band Pursuit Aerodactyl, so it might be limited to one kill, especially if rocks get up. That's not great. There's some 50-50 matchups there, but also, I think the play is to always switch out against Aerodactyl, because if he's locked into Pursuit with Choice Band Aerodactyl, that means that my other Chlorophyll users, my Victreebel and even Executor, because it's quicker under Sun, can suddenly do very well. So, I'm okay making it so that Typhlosion only gets one kill, so long as afterwards I can get a free turn with Victreebel or Executor, which always means another kill. So that's essentially a 2-for-1, or maybe even a 3 or 4-for-1, depending on how much damage they can do. So that's kind of what I looked at in the early game here. I don't want to go into much more detail at this point in time, just because there really wasn't much. I admittedly haven't played this team in about 2 years now. I was pretty upset about just how cheesy it was, so I didn't bother. But I figured now it's time to bring it out. Praise the sun, so let's get into it. Right off the bat, I lead with Regirock here. He leads Scrafty. I'm okay just going for rocks, I think. I'll go Sunny Day first. He knocks off Heat Rock. Smart play. That right off the bat tells me a ton, though. First and foremost, him being knockoff and only doing 16 means that he's sub BU, which means it's leftovers. So right off the bat, this tells me it's Z Garbodor, which means it actually can threaten my my Victreebel with a one-shot, Typhlosion with a one-shot, and can potentially outrun and 2-kill my Zatu if it's plus speed, which is a problem. Now, I know Regirock can wall it defensively all day, but man, being forced to go Regirock, especially when it's no longer a Heat Rock, that's actually a really cool part of his matchup here that I didn't notice in team preview. So that's definitely something I had to keep in mind from there. Now, knowing that, plus the fact that his Scrafty can't actually ever beat me, because I have a Choice Specs Typhlosion that can erupt under it on the sun, so I just have to fodder something off to it. I was okay going for rocks there, knowing that he's never going to go Zatu on turn 2, because A, with Sun Up, what if I go to my Typhlosion and say, okay, I'm fine losing the knock because I can still kill you under Sun? Or what if I go to my Victreebel and it's a Z move? Or Executor on a fighting move and it's a Z move with the Z Leaf Storm or Solar Beam? All of a sudden, that puts him in an awkward spot. Especially given how weak Scrafty is at +0, a knockoff isn't coming close to killing Executor. So I felt pretty confident there, knowing that he was going to try and get something in that could stomach a hit. Maybe Steelix, but more likely Aerodactyl I actually kind of thought he'd go, or maybe even go to a Sub-Seed Whimsicott, which would make sense with his Toxic Spikes there and kind of stall my turns. That's something I was worried about as well. He went Steelix though, so yeah, I was fine going rocks. I figured he wouldn't put himself the back foot with Zatu, and he didn't, so good play on my end there. And with his rock, again, this is why I want to use my Zatu. I want to use it basically to get in. He goes rocks here, and I'm also eject button Zatu, by the way, so if you Heavy Slime predicting me, that's fine. I U-turn here either way. Again, I go Typhlosion. The main idea being that I was fine just trading one kill for it, really. I just don't want rocks to be up all game, because that makes it so that Zatu can't actually keep up with the spikes here, and it really makes a potential Sub-Seed Whimsicott, which I was kind of threatened of, or Scrafty more annoying. And I want things healthy to tank hits from Scrafty as well. So I was always knowing that Typhlosion was an early game Pokemon. Here, I just go for the Flame. I was really okay with it. I knew that would end up getting rocks up here. He goes Earthquake. I actually get a burn. Earthquake does 39. It actually was a roll, I guess. I don't know, but it would have killed there. So my bad for the burn there, for sure. But you'll see later it evens out more, really. I was okay with this fodder, because he would have been dead to rocks upon entry. Or close to it anyway, so it was just kind of like, whatever, it's fine to me. Even something like Psychic or Knockoff from Zatu or Liepard would have killed it. So that was helpful for sure, but it wasn't ever doing anything more. It basically bought me a free turn there, which is cool because he had to go Arrow. And again, I already knew he had to be banded, But again, you always switch out there because now you know he's locked into pursuit. I go Nailbiter here and I can set up the sun, which is amazing for me, which is really good. So I get that sun up there. Now I go U-turn, and even his damage, you can tell it's offensive. But I go Zatu anyway. I didn't want to let it happen. He goes Gunk Shot. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm a eject button, and now I get this in. And at this point, I'm like, okay, this is a pretty good position to be in because I'm fairly certain he's not going to let the Garbodor die or take more damage. Period, because that puts it in Weather Ball range, and then Victorable pretty much automatically wins, as there's a 14 out of 16 chance that Aerodactyl is dying, even a knocked off. Giga Drain is already dying after as is. You live with Scrafty, you could set up in his face and Growth and Giga Drain, and obviously you're killing the Zatu and a Whimsicott under Sun. So Victorable would basically auto win, even without a Growth in that situation. Or you could set up Growth on the one Pokemon that couldn't kill it, and against everything else, yeah, you get the point. So here, I was really confident that if he stayed in, I'm okay only doing not very effective damage to it with Z-Leaf Storm. But if he switches, I didn't want to Psychic into something like the Scrafty or even the Zatu, because that's wasting turns. So I just wanted to click Z Solar Beam and get off as much damage as I could to open it for Victorable, which was a very clear win condition at this point. So he actually stays in and goes for the Z. That's fine with me. I was a little surprised, but it didn't really bother me because now everything's really like screwed by Victorable. So again, I just need to not get unlucky with Victorable, and I'm fine. I'm okay taking a Life Orb turn here. I Giga Drain and just take it out. That's fine. I'm still very healthy. And now he doesn't have a play. He goes Zatu, but that's gonna die to Weather Ball all of the time, assuming it's not like max like heavy special defense investment, but modest Victorable after all. That's gone. Now he goes Scrafty, and this is an interesting sequence here. I go Growth here because to get +2. He knocks off this 54, which is a little more than I was hopeful for, but it's fine because Giga Drain is not gonna do plenty. This is 44. I recover up to 51. You see there, knockoff to 31, so I can actually heal out of that. His leftovers helping me. See there, I heal all the way up to 49. I live the knockoff, and I could get the 3 KO there, so that's all fine and well. But here's the catch here. If I click Giga Drain again into the Whimsicott, he lives and can kill me because Sun's up. If I click Sludge Bomb into Whimsicott, I kill that, then he can go Aerodactyl and Pursuit Trap me. And then I can't beat Scrafty, because nothing from Nailbiter can kill Scrafty. Knockoff's only attack. This is Psychic plus U-turn plus Simple Beam, which we'll get to later. It's for specific matchups against. I can't remember. This is an old team. Wow. Simple Beam was the move. And the Regirock was slower, and you could just rest with Scrafty. So I needed the Victorable for the Scrafty. I couldn't let my Victorable either get revenge killed by Whimsicott or die to the Aerodactyl. So I was fine switching here. If he clicked rest, I could have lost, but it was worth the risk because he was never resting there. He was dying. So I figured either he switched. He really had to switch, honestly. He switched to Whimsicott, so I got that right. It worked out very well. That was kind of like the big brain turn of the game, if you will. And now I know I win the game because I can go Nailbiter here, and I can click Sunny Day, and now again, Sludge Bomb kills this, Giga Drain kills this, and it just comes down to what I mentioned before. After 2 rounds of Stealth Rock, Modest Victorable's got a 14 out of 16 chance to kill Aerodactyl with Giga Drain. So long as I get the 14 out of 16, I'm up to 2L. But Sludge Bomb here, he goes Aerodactyl, and he lives! I got Min! Now, that roll actually was literally absolute Min, which actually makes me wonder if he had some bulk. I don't know, I didn't ask him. So I'm just going to assume he probably had some HP on this. Otherwise, it is what it is. He was at 2%. Such is life. I didn't play optimally with the Typhlosion. Sorry, the Exeggutor looking back, clicking the Z move there. So I have no right to complain. The way I see it is complaining about hacks if you didn't play the game optimally yourself is unfair. You focus on your own to misplace first. So I have no right to complain. This is Oath game now. Good for him. I had, I guess, a slide out in seeing if maybe he was like a very slow, like min speed for some reason. Scrafty, I don't know, but obviously he wasn't, so he gets the rest off, and that's that. I just boomed. It wouldn't have mattered. Stone Edge crit plus Stone Edge crit plus boom would have killed him, but he was waking up before that. So yeah, it never was happening. Good game. Definitely a little unfortunate at the end there, but again, I misplayed my Exeggutor in hindsight, so Can't really complain about that too much. All right, I think we're probably at the 35-minute mark. Yeah, we are. Okay. Game number 3. This game I used a really cool team. I think I played tennis. LOL built it. The idea was it was going to be ultimate hyper offense. It doesn't even look like it, but I promise you it is. I got 6 Pokemon with the ground and spikes, but it's just like you kill shit before it sets up on you and kills you, basically. So I had Sash, Counter, Lovely Kiss, 2 attacks, Jinx. I had in a Custap Berry, Sturdy, Steelix here. I had a Spikes, Boom, Garbodor. All to kind of position in the early game. I have a Scarf Lantern to clean out offense. I have a Swords Dance Shiftry to clean out balance, and a Specs Pyroar to just nuke shit and open the game up for Shiftry and Lantern. So yeah, I thought it was a really cool concept. It definitely isn't like a super optimized team or anything. Again, I was trying to use more unconventional stuff, and this was one example of that. In Oras, I actually tend to use more balanced teams and work out pretty nicely. Or normal spam, which also works out pretty nicely in my eyes, but that's neither here nor there as I brought this. So yeah, I figured it'd be cool. Looking at this team, I didn't really love the matchup I ran into for a couple of reasons. First off, I am Lumberry Shiftry, not Life Orb, so Pelipper after Stealth Rock is likely to level +2 hit and U-turn or Hurricane my ass to Oblivion, coupled with the fact that he's got a Scarf Fighter, which can level +2 Sucker Punch from a decent range of health. So I knew Shiftry's win condition wasn't looking great already. I had to get a lot of hazards up and somehow keep them up despite both my hazard setters auto losing to Pelipper, which was not good. Not good at all. At least Steelix had caused that boom to kind of get a surprise hit on the defog turn, so that could have been nice. What did look good, Lantern, he had no switch into Lantern. I honestly couldn't imagine him facing the 200 speed Scald, Volt Switch, Protect, Signal Beam set that I use a lot. I wish I brought that, as it would have just ran all over him, but neither here nor there. Scarf Primate is a major issue to my team. Garbodor was offensive, and everything else got ran over by Earthquake plus Combat, so I knew I had my work cut out for me. But I also knew I had a chance because Lantern looked fantastic if it hit Hydro Pump. So let's get on into the game now. I lead Jinx is against the Sash counter lead. He leads Pelipper, that's fine with me. I get a Lovely Kiss off. He goes Magmortar to soak that up, but that's actually okay with me. Psyshock here can do a Kyoto always. I get a crit there, but it really doesn't matter. I always took Kyoto anyway. And his only things to take Psyshock comfortably with Mesprit, which was slower and got Lovely Kissed anyway, so it was fine. I don't think there was really any change in anything. He was going to let that go anyway. Magmortar wasn't doing a ton against a faster fire type, sturdy Custap, and Scarf Lantern. So yeah, but he goes Tauros here. That's fine with me because my Steelix is living. Tauros picks more often than not. But he gets crit, and to add insult to injury, he gets the one roll for crits that I couldn't afford. As you see, 72. So if it crit, it wasn't even gonna kill me. If it didn't crit, it wasn't even gonna 2-KO me. It would have left me in Custap. So I would have gotten either Stealth Rock up or a kill plus Custap range out of this scenario, basically always. And he wouldn't, if he didn't see leftovers, presumably he wouldn't have went to Pelipper because he risked me being Sheer Force or all sorts of shenanigans. So, even if he went Pelipper, I still get rocks up, I force the defog, and I can go right back to my Jinx and actually claim a free sleep. So, that crit was a major setback because now it's a useless Steelix. Steelix isn't in Custap range and it's not at full health. So I feel way behind now. That's the only thing that couldn't happen there, unfortunately. So I'm just okay. I gotta let go of Jinx. The sleep dream is dead now. Now I can go out to something to beat this 1v1, that being Lantern, and hope he doesn't scout for Scarf Lantern. He doesn't, so I get a free Volt Switch off. Now I can go Shiftry here. And Pedagati, Earthquake predicting the Steelix again, or trying to hit the Lantern harder, but he actually goes Rock Climb, which is a shame because if I went to Steelix, I would have lived that and gotten in Custap range. I don't know. I guess he didn't detect that based off the damage and lack of leftovers. But he got me there. My Shiftry's now gone. It wasn't a win condition anyway. Again, as I said before, with 1 and 2 out, and me never getting rocks up because of Steelix now being crit. But I can go Lantern here and get a sort of kind of revenge kill. I hit 2 Hydro Pumps into a Mesprit. As he goes Psychic, it does 76. I'm okay, I guess he's specs. It's fine with me. I didn't really have much counterplay with both my Resist gone into other weekends, so it worked for me. He goes Primate Appearance. At this point, I basically lose to Scarf Earthquake. But I go Steelix here, just trying to fight it off, see what it does. That's so with me. I can go Garbodor here, bluff being defensive and trying to nuke him, I guess. I don't know. Pyra, I doubled in the Lantern, predicting him to go Rhydon here. And now I can go Lantern here. He goes Pelipper, and this actually I don't think was a great play on his end, letting it risk Volt Switch and then get the Garbodor back in. But I think it was fine because Garbodor is never killing the Rhydon in 1. it basically risked him losing to crit Seed Bomb if he was an offensive Rhydon, but I don't think he was, given later moves. We'll see. So yeah, it didn't make any difference. At the time, I was like, oh, damn, he risked it, but he really didn't risk anything. It's kind of how I feel. Yeah, no, anyway. So Hydro Pump there. He tanks that. He's actually especially defensive Pelipper, so Shifter actually would have done okay, I guess. But I digress. U-turn there into Pyro. He goes back to Primeape here, and I'm like, okay, I lose. But instead of close combating, which was like auto win, he clicked Earthquake, which struck me as kind of bizarre. So my Specs Hyper Voice takes him out, and now I'm like, oh damn it! If I click the Volt Switch that one turn, I actually did win. It's fine. Now I go Garbodor, and yeah, he actually shows he's adamant there. We're taking a kill there, Lantern here, and now I Volt Switch trying to like get a desperation kill. And honestly, if I Hydro Pump there, then he actually lost to Volt Switch back. He lost because Tauros died and Primeape died. But if he goes Tauros there, then he always wins. Because Pyroar wasn't Hidden Power Grass. I don't... Actually, oh, it was. No, it was. So, okay, let me think here. If I Hydro here, he goes Pelipper, then I lose. If I Hydro here, he stays in, then I switch out to Pyroar, and then I just spam Volt Switch, and I win. Yes. If I Hydro on the Tauros, then he can go Pelipper and he wins to spamming Scald. Correct. If I Volt Switch here as he goes Tauros, then game comes down to a 50-50. Actually, no, because he lives Hyper Voice, he scouts it out, he goes for Roost, then he goes back to Rhydon. So then I have to win multiple 50-50s to win the game. And if I go Hydro Pump into the Tauros, then I just lose. So his play was always Tauros, because Tauros means that you always either win or need to lose multiple 50-50s, whereas this is just one 50-50, and if you get it wrong, you 100% lose. So I feel like this was like a play that didn't make any sense for me from Oath, but I figured that he wouldn't go for it. So in a sense, it actually did work. It's all weighted 50-50s, right? Like, he always had better odds going to Tauros than this, but I knew that as well. So him knowing that I knew that, if that makes sense to you, made him more enticed to stay in and do this, because it was kind of obvious that I picked one side of 50-50, thus giving him leverage to make this risk, especially since there's a chance Hydro misses as well, making it a weighted 50-50 in his favor. So all in all, he was favored in the endgame, and he took a riskier path, knowing that I would think that he wouldn't, and it worked out even better for him because of that. I Volt Switch, he Earthquakes, it takes me out, and that's the game. 100% credit him for that. I personally would have just went Tauros and played the odds, but it really worked out there. Again, yeah, I am Hidden by Grass, that's what I was trying to remember. And then Pelipper, obviously, is not taking enough from Grass, does 40, and that'll be that. So yeah, now it's 2-1 in favor of him, and we're back for 2 more SS games as we hit the 43-minute mark of the video, because I'm torturing myself. But here, I actually loaded up my only standard team of the set. Now, this is actually a team that was posted in the subform that I really liked. I can't quite remember who built it. I think it was Mary, but whoever built this really solid team, I like it a lot. Gastrodon's a super underrated pick, and he doesn't even have really a good switch into it. Press here was really, really useless between Drapion, Copper Jaw, and the fact that he had a Ninjask, just use to force me like Moonlight or whatever. That wasn't great, but besides that, I knew Choice Band Guzzler did well. Talonflame forcing Wisps on the stuff was important, especially if he's not Heal Bell Diancie, which on this team he could very well be, like he was game 1 with Copper, but that's fine. And Sylveon didn't really do great here because the champ outran into a Kyogre, but maybe you can find some mileage out of it. So yeah, I knew Gastrodon was kind of the core of my matchup here. I lead with it because of that, figuring I could force Earth Power or Toxic on something. He's Drapion, he goes Knockoff, and he takes like a 90% Earth Power in return, which is great for me, so that's already one threat neutralized, one check Prescon. He goes Rotomo here, and I just Ice Beam trying to catch the switch, and I catch the switch, does 50 there, that's great. Oh yeah, here, I know this for a fact, he's never, ever clicking Leaf Storm with Guzzlord, Sylveon, and Talonflame in the back. So I'm like, he's probably gonna Volt Switch. Or maybe click like Will-O-Wisp. If he tricks me into a Scarf, that's actually okay, because suddenly I can maybe outrun Bulkier Machamp and also outrun Diancie. And honestly, I'm just using Gastrodon to just fire off the many moves I can, because he has no tank here. This is a more offensive team in his end, so it's fine with me. Better than losing the Sylveon at this point. So I was okay spinning there. He goes Machamp. It only takes 19. This is fine with me, though. I go Cresselia here, thinking he's probably going to knock off. He Facade, so it's 65 with me. Only does 45. So that is checked as he's taking more damage. I doubled Guzzlord here, knowing very well he's going to go Copper, and Copper can't really threaten me. Now he goes Drapion as fodder. So yeah, I'm making great plays here. I feel like I'm ahead. I took a humongous risk with Gastrodon early. I normally don't do that, but I felt this matchup against all of these Crest Jacks wasn't great. And honestly, after getting all the damage on Drapion, I didn't need to overcompensate as much as I did, but I did anyway. I think in hindsight, I wouldn't do it again, but it did work out. So we'll take as what we can get, you know? Anyway, I get Earthquake kill there. That's fine. And now here, I do it again. In that I know he's not going to close combat with Cress and Talonflame and even Sylveon in the back. I feel like he's almost definitely going to Facade. Facade basically buys him a free turn at worst. Because Facade forces Talonflame to roost if it lives, which it could be a roll. It could just die outright, which is crazy. It forces Cresselia to roost, to Moonblast, to Moonlight. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. If he has it, it does 45 to 50 as you saw last time. So all of a sudden, that's forcing progress. It's forcing a free turn. You get free Ninjask on Crest. You get free Stealth Rock with the Anti on either of them. You know, and that's huge. That's big there. So it almost seems drawback free because there's no way I'm clicking my Earthquake locked, presumably, on choice bands. He doesn't know that, but either way, they don't have a move that can kill Machamp. So there's no way I'm keeping this in, right? But I do. I predict him to Facade. I know I always live a Facade without a crit. As you see here, even a crit wouldn't kill there, and I get my Earthquake kill there with my choice band Guzzlord. And that's huge. I feel like the play against the Rotom and the play against the Machamp, two openings that I found that maybe were a bit less likely because I was right in front of Pokemon that could absolutely devour me with boosted super effective stab moves. Didn't go for it, and I just took advantage of the holes I found, so that was amazing. He goes Ninjask to Revenge Kill me now, but that's actually fine. I don't even feel like it Revenge Kills me really, so I go Talonflame, try and get the Flame Body, no such luck. That's fine. He goes DH. I'm like, okay, gotta get out of here. I go Gastrodon. Diamond Storm gets the boost. And Body Press does over half. In hindsight, I wish I just clicked Toxic there, but I was scared of Body Press. So I was scared of Heal Bell. But then he goes Toxic on his own. I'm like, oh crap. I go Sylveon. He's Diamond Storming up. I'm like, okay. +6 Body Press. It doesn't always Tokyo me. And I could probably just PP stall this a little bit, but it did more than I thought it would. It did 59 instead of like 50, 55, which is what I was accustomed to. I don't remember if this is a more specially defensive Sylveon spread or what. I didn't play this optimally. I should have just been spamming Moonblast to begin with to do 29 apiece. But I tried to stall it out. Now you're gonna see how much Body Press does to me. Look. It's gonna do like 59, I think. Yeah. 58. I'm like, okay. This is bad. This is very bad. I do 29 here. He takes me out, and I can go Talonflame here though. I live a Diamond Storm always if I hit the Wisp, and thank God I hit this Wisp. Thank God I hit the Wisp. He does 88, and yeah, I mean, it was a very favorable roll for me, assuming he didn't have attack investment, which given Body Press damage, I don't think he did. So yeah, now I can just spam Roost, because he misses Toxic there. That was fortunate for me. But he hits it on the next turn, so it didn't really change much. Honestly, one turn of Toxic is fine. I was switching out to Cresselia at this point always anyway, yeah, as you see. So it really just lost him 12% damage, roughly. He goes for another Diamond Storm. At this point, I Moonlight as he Toxics. Now, I should have started to Calm Mind up, probably, but I figured that would bait in the Copper. I just wanted to get as much damage on this Diancie as I could to get it out of the way. So I'm actually Moonblasting in the sense to say, okay, fine, you could win the 1v1 with some Toxic, but I'm forcing damage onto you. You're not switching out to Copper. I kind of held him hostage and says that we're both going down here. And that's fine as, again, this isn't a good matchup for Crest. Even with the Drapion being gone early, I didn't feel great against Ninjask. I didn't feel great against Copper, so that's fine. Crest kind of did its job here, not really. But it was a matchup where its job wasn't really defined too well. Either way, I bring it all the way down to 8% here. And from there, I think I can Revenge Kill with Guzzlord because it outruns it. Yeah, I did some calcs. Like, yeah, it always outruns the spread, given how much damage she took from things. I lock in a Heavy Slam to take it out, just be sure because he's +6 defense, which means he can go Copper Jaw. Heavy Slam, again, no Flame Body, but I'm fine because if I hit Wisp here, I basically clinch one in the game. Because if I Wisp the Copper Jaw, that means all of a sudden my own copper is basically free against it. If I wisp the Rotom, then it's in Brave Bird range for Talonflame. Plus, copper, heavy slam after a couple more burn turns is good for it. It puts it in Ice Beam range for Gastrodon always. Okay, I guess if I was Ninjask, it doesn't really matter because Ninjask is never breaking copper from this position, but sorry, but I don't think he's ever going Ninjask on Talonflame, so I just want to land the Wisp, and unfortunately, sorry, I missed there. I've got like congestion, my goodness. I go Gastrodon here, Volt Switch, and at this point, I don't really need the Gastrodon because it's almost definitely Whip Copper, so I let it go. It stops the bleeding with Talonflame's Toxic turns, lets me get a Roost off, and again, now I'm in the same position where I want to Wisp the damn Rotom or the Copper, but I miss again, so it basically means that the free turn I bought myself suddenly was just Drown and Drain again. I Roost on the Volt, and it does 41, revealing he's probably got some special attack. Now he goes Ninjask, but I Wisp again, trying to catch it because I'm like, he's probably just going to U-turn out predicting the Copper or double switch out to Rotom. And again, Wisp guarantees that I put him in Brave Bird range. So I missed. I'm like, well, now I'm so weak that I can't check anything. I can't even switch to Heavy Slam, so I'm just going to try and get max damage with Brave Bird. And unfortunately, I can't even get that. So now missing 3 Wisps kind of went from being in a position where my Copper plus Guzzlord should always win against the last 2 to where it's a lot more open and even favors him. But it's still winnable. He goes Copper instead of Ninjask, which in my opinion was a misplay unless he was expecting my Copper to be Earthquake over Heat Crash, which I guess was. But you really could have played an endgame where you never let the Guzzlord back in if you go to Ninjask. And this is what I think was actually a huge blunder on his part. And this is all due respect. I get it, it's a tense game and all, but if you go Ninjask and U-turn, you go to Copper, and he has to know I'm Stealth Rock, so I can't fit Curse on this set, especially given that I've got Gastrodon with Toxic, the Clear Smog, my own setup Crest, just being Choice Banded, and potentially Whirlwind, or Toxic, whatever. It didn't make sense for me to be Stealth Rock plus Curse on this team, is what I'm trying to say. So my Copper basically forced a trade with his. I don't actually set up on it and win the game outright. Too easily, anyway. So, excuse me, sorry. So him going Ninjask, getting U-turn, going to his Copper, even if I Heat Crash and I do 30%, keep in mind they're both so freaking heavy, we can trade out hits until I'm always in Rotom range, and then Rotom wins the game. But doing it this way means I get a free Guzzlord, so I can just go for the Choice Band knockoff, do 88 to it, and all of a sudden, if my Copper is quicker than his Copper, and I do have a lot of speed EVs, then I win the game, barring, I guess, Pain Split, Akaberry, Rotom. But yeah, he just Wisps, so yeah. It was over, because Ninjask can't beat me from here. Even if he lives a Heat Crash, which with Crit he did, but he would have been too good anyway. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why he didn't go Ninjask. He let in the Guzzlord. I think that was a game that he had won that he probably threw away there. But again, gotta understand, it's this is a 40-turn game. These were slow games. This is another 40-turn game. This was a lot of games going on, so I get it. At this point, I don't know if he was frustrated. He didn't have a team, whatever. I think he said he didn't have a team, so he wanted to play the 5th game today. So I didn't bring you guys earlier. That's why I got you the Storm Zone video today, despite Tournament Tuesday being today. So kind of a little role reversal, but that's fine with me. Now we're going into Game 5, which happened again. I'm recording this Monday. So this happened 2-3 hours ago. In Game 5, I was rolling up to my guy Poe in pursuit of Happiny on NU off. I'm like, yo, this team is the worst team of all time, but it is so freaking funny and cheesy. And I wanted to keep up using unconventional stuff. Part of me, I had a standard team built as well. Part of me wanted to use the standard team because the standard team, I feel like had a good odds of winning because I felt like I had a leg up on Oath as a player. And with standard, I could just kind of be consistent and just give myself good odds like I did in this game here. But no, it's Battle of the Week. I wanted to style, so I loaded up a team with all the goons. We have a Scarf Healing Wish Celebi. We have a Rock Slide Copper and Jaw for defog Talonflame to stop webs. We got a Solar Beam Power Vikavolt to lure Golurk and Mudsdale. We got an offensive heavy duty boost to find Braviary. We got 4 attacks, heavy slam, Machamp, I believe, which you never see, but with webs it's kind of dope. You get the one shot on Diancie and Sylveon with the Flame Orb, which is amazing, and sub SD Silvally Ghost, which looks pretty damn good in this matchup, in my opinion. So right off the bat, I'm like, I kind of want to lead with my Vikavolt and get webs up, right? But looking at his team, he's probably Stealth Rock on Miltank, which means he's probably Choice Banded or Life Orb, at least, on the Golurk, which means Heat Crash or whatever he might have. He has a chance to one-shot my Vikavolt. So all of a sudden, I'm like, he's probably going to lead with Golurk, actually, predicting Vikavolt. So I'm actually going to go ahead and lead with Celebi predicting Golurk, because Celebi can threaten that out and get a trick off on the Sap Sipper Miltank. And then all of a sudden, if the Sap Sipper Miltank's tricked, he knows I'm webs on Vikavolt, presumably, so he's probably not going to switch that in and let me get webs up for free and then vault around, because Miltank can't really threaten Vikavolt. He's probably going to use Golurk to resist the stabs, knowing that clicking Energy Ball into that or anything else in his team was poor, so I could get a kind of lure kill with Solar Beam. So that's my kind of main idea there. Lead with Celebi and bait that sequence trick onto Miltank. But it turns out that leading Celebi worked for a different reason. He led Miltank and let me get the trick off all the same, which he had no way of knowing. I'm staying in here was always a play for him. He goes for Rock. So now 2 out of the 3 SS games, I'm leading with a Psychic type that doesn't know run Scarf, and I'm tricking him a Scarf, because screw it, we're just tricking everything. So why the hell not? Yeah, we're already 56%. Jeez. Okay, let's get through with this one. So he goes Mantine, I go U-turn. That's fine with me. I go Vikavolt here, and I'm like, okay, bet, it's time. He's now gonna go to the Miltank on the webs. He's not, but then he does go to Miltank, and Lord, it didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work. I go for the Solar Beam. I go for the Solar Beam into the Sap Sipper, and I was so sad. There was a minute in time there where I was like the only person. There was just so much loneliness. I'm like, I put this Vikavolt set out into the world, and it was just completely rejected by this. It's fine, though. I got my webs up, and he locked himself in the Seismic Toss. He had to know himself Silvally Ghost as a spin blocker. So I thought he'd switch here maybe, but I was like, if he doesn't, I can kind of go for game here, so screw it. He went for the Seismic Toss again. I get a Swords Dance off, and I can go sub here on a Toxic or on a Defog. And at this point, I'm like, yeah, I'm golden here. Because I'm not in, so I'm in Specs Sylveon range, but Specs Sylveon doesn't live. And if it's Moonblast, then it just breaks up. If it's Hyper Voice defensive, I live anyway. And from here, I kind of felt pretty good here. So I take that out there. He goes Sylveon, and I get multi-attack there. I do 82 to it. Yeah, that's fine with me. Moonblast, and now that I know he's Moonblast and he's defensive, I could just Flame Charge here to get the kill. Not even risking it. It might have been a roll. I don't know. It wasn't a roll. It didn't matter. And now I killed a Silvally Steel. May have been a roll, but he couldn't have killed me with one if he was more defensive, and it was a roll. And that ends the game because Miltank I could just sub up on. He can't Toxic me. Rotom Mow and Golurk die. So it's a bit of an anticlimactic 11 turn 6-0 there, where I really only had to use... I only really lost damage on this and Vikavolt. Pretty funny, but it wasn't Oath's fault here. It was a completely team matchup, but hey, sometimes you take them as you go. I'm glad I got to use some heat, though. I mean, we got Simple Beam Zatu, we got Sub SD Silvally Ghost, we got Solar Beam, Power Herb, Vikavolt, Scarf Trick, Celebi, Offensive, Braviary. This game was standard, but this game I also got to use the Psychic Core, which I thought was really nice, and the boot spam and whatnot. So yeah, I was really happy with how I played the SS games and how I prepared for those. It was fun. The Oras game got out of hand. I think I did the best for my odds in the late game, but that's fine. And the SM game, little unfortunate, but well played on his end, and I made a misplay there, so that's my bad. You got to own up to your mistakes, and at the end of the day, I made mistakes in the old generations, but not so much in the new generation, so I'm glad it worked that way. But yeah, no, I was happy with the result, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I figured I'd go a bit more in depth here. I know this is an hour-long video now of just me talking about my 5 NU games for Battle of the Week, but no one really goes into this much depth, I feel, nowadays, besides like BKC and all generations, and I'm always down to give my in-depth analysis, and I wanted to do this for NU. I felt like you guys deserved it, so I hope you guys watched this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts down below on the series. Let me know your thoughts down below on all of this analysis and more. You want to see more NU? You want to see less NU? More of another tier? I'm all ears to that. And if you guys are happy about this, then well, be sure to like and comment and subscribe and whatnot. I think that I think it was pretty great that we got to play this, and I hope that in a couple weeks you guys vote for me again. So yeah, if you're still watching at this point, we are at 59 minutes and 48 seconds according to my showing. Then be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what your thoughts are about Sylvali Ghost. Sure, what random comment question at the end? Why the hell not? All right, bye guys. Thank you so much.